Have you ever seen something from the corner of your eye that wasn't there again when you looked? How about hearing from a friend of a friend that while they were hiking somewhere, they thought they saw something impossible, but when they spoke to a park ranger, there was always a simple explanation that left you just unsatisfied. My name is Jack, and this is my colleague Chris, and we're senior wardens for the Creature Conservation Initiative. We protect the world from the creatures of superstition and myth, but more importantly, protect those same creatures from the world. Well, hello everyone, how are you doing? All our millions and millions of listeners. Woo! Yes, I know it's aspirational, but we'll get there.
When you listen back to this in 20 years' time.
But how are you all doing? How are you doing, Chris?
I'm surviving. It's been a long year.
It's January.
Well, my point still stands. But I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I've had my brain working a little bit this week. You know, first time for quite a while.
And no, I'm scared. Evacuate.
No, I've had the brain working a little bit because of a case I've been dealing with over the last few weeks, I would say. It's been quite intellectually stimulating, as long as we ignore the horrific circumstances surround it. It's been quite. I'm trying to find silver linings in this horrible situation, but
good idea usually.
I've been out there straight away. You know, no time for Christmas, no time really for New Year. Just got to get straight back into it and get yourself started again in this job. The mythical creatures don't seem to respect the idea of a break over Christmas.
That's true. Except for Santa, of course. Although that's more the opposite of a break. Never mind.
Well, I mean, we have been asked to be very careful about talking about Santa by the higher-ups.
I can't understand
mostly
why.
Because I don't think they want to bring it back again. But I have been dealing with quite a popular creature, or at least a relatively well-known creature. It's been used in a lot of different folklore and.
Are we finally doing our Michael Jackson?
That's a cryptid. Not quite, no. It's a creature that has popped up in like books and in kind of anything to do with the Fae. It's something called, and I would be very surprised if you've not at least heard of them or had to read about them. They are on the syllabus for training, but it's something called the Redcap.
I've heard about those. I've heard they can be quite nasty.
Yes, they can be very, very nasty. Do you know anything else about them? Have you ever heard anything else about them?
Mostly rumors, more or less. There's, violence and bloodlust and stuff like that. But I don't know to what extent all this stuff is true. So I will try not to show my entire ass here and just wait for you to tell me.
The Redcaps are very, very interesting because they are wildly different depending on the country.
Interesting.
Today we're going to speak about the Redcaps you find in my wonderful home country of the United Kingdom, Great Britain, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, okay, Britain.
And they pretty much do follow the rumours that you've probably heard.
Okay, that does not sound good.
No. You might have got that idea from what I was saying in the intro.
Yes.
But they are relatively nasty little creatures if left unattended. It's probably a good way to put it. Not that we spend much time attending them. They're quite hard to find and they're quite difficult to kind of contain. It's more a case of we get reports of activity from them and we go and very quickly try and push them out.
Yeah.
It's trying to evict them from the area. We'll get onto that a little bit later. So, I'm assuming you'd like to know what they actually kind of look like.
Absolutely. I mean, I imagine they have some kind of cap of sorts, maybe. It might be red.
Kind of. So, what they actually look like is they're little forms of goblins.
Yeah.
But in the real world, we don't see goblins as like little green creatures. Some of them are green, some of them aren't, but again, that's for an episode of goblins one day, and that's a whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
They are little goblin-like creatures. They're a variation of a goblin, essentially, and they look like little sturdy old men.
It somehow makes it worse.
Yeah, it really kind of does.
Also, we all know that small people are angry all the time, so that does not bode well.
Well, these guys turn up to 11, trust me. So, yeah, they look like sturdy little old men. They have red eyes, and they have taloned little hands and very large teeth.
Ooh.
So you can definitely distinguish them from people. I mean, regardless of the size, the size pretty much tends to make you go. Maybe you could persuade yourself it was a child, but then they look like a very, very old man. So unless you like subscribing to the idea of Benjamin Button, it's very obvious they're not human. But like I say, they have quite long talons, not like overly long, but they extend just long enough from the fingers that you kind of go, those aren't nails.
Okay.
And the little red eyes that they have and large teeth kind of define them as something a little bit otherworldly to a certain degree. And the weird thing about them, though...
More weird.
I know. But they always are wearing old, rusted, kind of plate armor.
Okay, I did not picture them in armor, to be honest.
Yeah, to be fair, we've never seen them out of it.
Okay.
Don't know why, but we've never seen them out of it.
I mean, I would hope that at least it makes it hard for them to sneak up on you in full plate armor.
You'd hope.
Why can't anything be easy?
And the other thing is that they always carry essentially a pike staff.
All right.
So kind of like the medieval halberd-like weapons.
Yeah.
It's very, very incongruous because it's not quite a full-size one. You know, it's very much one that has been created for them. Like the armor has obviously been created for them, but it's taller than they are for certain.
Do they make their own armor?
We've never been able to find out.
Oh.
We've never been able to find out. This is one of those creatures that don't talk to us. They don't like us. They really, really hate seeing us. Mostly because, as far as they're concerned, we are prey.
Oh, good.
But not in the sense of we're food. We don't know what they eat, but they don't eat people.
Okay, so they're just hunting for sport, basically.
Kind of. One of the biggest giveaways that it's a red cap that I've left out so far is, you can probably work it out, they have a red cap on. They have
Really?
a hat that is always red, except their hats are kind of glistening and almost look wet.
Ew.
Because...
I don't like where this is going.
Neither did any of the victims. But the red cap basically kills people and dips their caps in the person's blood to maintain the redness of the cap.
Ooh.
Now, some people say that they need to do this, or if the blood on their caps dry out, they'll die. However, we have no evidence of the fact that if they don't keep their caps covered in blood, they'll die. They seem to... We've had moments where we've basically not trapped, but I'd rather say corralled a group into an area, and we've not been able to go in and kind of like turf them out, you know, try and, as I said earlier, evict them, because we haven't had enough wardens or something yet, so we've needed to wait for a while. Wait a few days, you know, that kind of thing. The blood will definitely have dried by then, but I can tell you, they were still as fearsome as when they went in there.
I was gonna say, blood doesn't take that long to dry, so there'd be a lot of murders if they need to keep that up.
We know that that's not true, but why they dip their caps in human blood, we don't really know. I mean,
Fashion statement?
I would have hoped that fashion would have moved on by now, because they've been around for a very long time.
Or are they with Peter, maybe? They've done things like that.
Protest. I'm talking about a protest here. They're a form of goblin. They're kind of like an offshoot of a goblin.
Yeah.
They've been described as like a malevolent goblin, which is quite funny when you talk about goblins.
It is, yeah.
Quite a lot of them are malevolent anyway.
Yep.
But we're not sure exactly when they started to appear. They've definitely been around for a very, very long time. We're talking going back towards kind of medieval times. And they really, really started popping up when there was a country border between England and Scotland. I mean, I know some people would say there's still a country border, but as in, like, they are very separate countries.
Especially the Scots would say that.
There was castles all over the kind of that border, protecting either country. They've been around for a very, very long time. We don't know if they've been around before that. We don't know if it's that they are an offshoot of a goblin in the sense of they're an entire evolution, or if they are just a form of goblin that has got really, really into this.
Who knows?
You know, so everyone needs their hyperfixations.
So would that mean that potentially they're just a kind of goblin cult?
You know what? I never actually considered that. I'm going to send an email off to the research guys. They might find that quite interesting as a idea. Yeah, a goblin-like cult, but they are this very, very dangerous creature in our history. You can't get past the fact they are very, very dangerous in our history, and they have claimed the lives of quite a lot of people.
Yeah.
Over the years. Mostly because the reason why I was saying about the castles is that seems to be where they reside. And they live in old abandoned castles, old abandoned caves, and they tend to be found along the England-Scotland border. They have been found in other places. They tend to, just like anywhere that is abandoned, old, dank, kind of ruinous areas, old castles, old structures, and on more than one occasion, we've had to turf them out of places like commercial castles, you know, the kind of ones where you can go visit to see. That we have had to go in and evict them from those kind of places. They don't go into them very often because obviously their people live there and it's very hard for them to get established, but it's not unheard of.
Gives a whole new meaning to the term tourist trap.
Well, I'm glad you said about traps, because that's what they do.
Oh no.
I
hate being right.
They hunt people, but they don't hunt like large groups of people. You know, if there's 20 or 30 of you, they'll stay away from you. However, the history around them, and especially very, very much the myth, but this is one of those situations when myth is right. You're traveling from one city to another. It's the Dark Ages or medieval times when you didn't have highways or motorways, you know, no vehicles. You're traveling by foot over many, many days, and it's my wonderful country. It's raining non-stop because that's the UK.
Yep, sure is.
And you know, you come across this old castle or this old ruin that you can just, you know, maybe get out of the rain. It's going to be still a bit cold in there, but you can start a fire. You know, it's respite for you when you've been traveling for weeks on end and you're just wanting somewhere nice and that you can dry yourself and your clothes and everything.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of person they will hunt in the past. They would go out and they would, sometimes they would use traps, sometimes they would jump out and just slay you with the halberd, their bike staff.
Oh jeez.
They've got no problem being up close and personal, but they're also not stupid. If they're going to, you know, if you were like a heavily armed soldier or mercenary or something like that, they would be smarter. And one of the common ways they killed people was through large rocks and boulders. You'd be, say, moving up and down the stairs of a ruin or something, and they would literally throw huge rocks and boulders and try and crush you, try and knock you down.
So they're strong.
They are very, very strong little creatures, and they're nasty. They are so vicious when they find you.
It sounds like it.
They really do not have any mercy. They've got no bones about. You get caught off guard by one of these, and it doesn't end well.
Yeah.
But they have also started realizing that technology has surpassed them. So now as we get into more modern times, they realize that some people can be armed. So they realize it, and so they've been doing a lot more trickery rather than confronting people directly.
I'm not sure if that's better.
They've adapted.
Yeah.
So there's intelligence there. They know what's going on.
Yeah, sounds like it. I mean, you need a certain level of intelligence to set traps in the first place.
Yeah, very much so. And we do know they can be killed. Unfortunately, there have been times in the past where wardens have had to, when they've been forced to.
Yeah.
It's not something, again, we'd like to do because they are creatures. They are just running by their own nature. But on occasion, we have to deal with them in this way.
Fair enough.
There are a few stories, though, some very, very interesting stories from myth and legend about redcaps, and actually about redcaps working with people.
Ooh, tell me more.
Couldn't have sounded more sarcastic.
No, seriously, I did not expect them working with people at any point, so that's actually quite interesting.
They've been used in folklore as kind of a little bit of a cautionary tale to not be a dick, basically. Because there's the major story that kind of goes around with Redcaps is the story of Robin Redcap.
Okay.
And
legally distinct from Robin Hood.
Apparently. I'm not convinced. Robin Redcap and the Lord William de Surlis of Hermitage Castle.
Oh.
Now, apparently, William de Surlis was quite a brutal lord. The people who lived on his lands and farmed his fields were oppressed and awfully treated.
Mm-hmm.
But William wanted to find a way to make this situation worse.
Oh. Yeah, because why not?
He wanted more from his people. He wanted more money. He wanted everything to be... He just wanted more. Oh. He wants it all, and he wants it now.
Well, good that this kind of thing could never happen in modern days.
Anyway.
Moving on.
He met Robin Redcap and forged an agreement. Robin would basically terrorize his people.
Yes.
And scare them into working more and more and more and turn everyone into a producer of some kind, and in return Robin would get to kill people and would be allowed to dip his hat in the blood, keep it going, because again at these times it was accepted that Redcaps needed to keep their hats covered in blood, can't let it dry, etc.
Sure.
And just wanted to let the Redcap kill. William gets more and more from his people, and it's a beneficial arrangement for them, obviously not his tenants.
I'm sure it ended perfectly well for everyone involved.
Well, this is one of the reasons why we know it's a story, not a recounting of history, because there's a few different ways in which it ended, and two of my favourites are that Robin the Redcap would be a terror on the community. He would steal children from farmers. He would use sacrificial rituals. He would be a full-on menace and terrify the people.
Sounds great. Yeah, good guy.
Yeah. And Robin made it so that he would protect William, and William could never be killed unless he was bound with a three-stranded rope.
Okay.
Because back then they also thought Redcaps were magical. No, Redcaps are just devious. What happened was that the people, the tenants of William's land, decided to go and find a dark wizard, because these stories all have a dark wizard.
Of course.
And they found a wizard called Thomas the Rhymer, who once rode to the fairyland of the Queen of Elfheim herself.
Sure.
He agreed to help. He created a three-stranded belt made of lead for the tenants to take back with them, and this belt was hollow, so it could be filled with sand, so you could increase the weight.
Are we sure he was a wizard and not just a metal worker?
And the villagers then brought this belt back home, and they launched an attack on William's castle. They managed to capture William and bound him using the belt, and Robin Redcap did not come to save William.
Ooh.
And essentially, in revenge for William's crimes and for setting Robin the Redcap on them, they basically boiled William alive.
Oh, jeez. I mean, I get it, kind of, but that's nasty.
The other ending to that story is that William set Robin loose on the people, and Robin basically went above and beyond, started absolutely terrorizing people, but in a way that William didn't actually intend, and the results were just horrific. We won't go into them, it was just nasty as anything.
Sounds more realistic already.
With Robin being very, very destructive on William's lands, Robin actually ended up taking William to Nine Stane Rig, which is a circle of stones, by the Hermitage Castle, wrapped him in lead, and boiled him to death.
Oh, good. At least there's some consistencies.
But in both these stories, the Redcap suffered no consequences, but the man who made an agreement with the Redcap did.
Fair enough.
As a result, I see this more as a parable of don't make dark creatures a contract.
Yeah,
which is always just a
probably.
healthy thing to do.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that even applies to most humans. But yeah, if you think something is not human, do not enter any kind of deal with them.
But would you like to hear about what I've been doing?
Of course, yes.
We have had Redcaps appear in commercial historical sites, and very recently we actually had one. I'm not going to name the castle or the historical site or anything like that, because I don't want people going in and finding out and asking questions.
Sure.
What we had, and it only came to us through the police, one of our contacts at the police.
Yeah.
There was a murder at one of these historical sites, and at first they thought it was just an isolated murder. Unfortunately, these things happen.
Yeah.
What happened, though, was one of our contacts was on the investigation. They were getting stuck for a motive. They could not come up with a credible motive for this killing. The Redcap kills for sport. I don't know that much about humans who kill for just the sake of killing, but usually there's a reason. True crime podcasts. Well, hey.
Yes, new demographic.
Well, there's usually some kind of reason, a trophy, stealing, a robbery, all that kind of stuff. But obviously for us, the Redcap, all they want is to kill and dip their hats in the blood.
That is definitely a cult. Or some weird sex thing. One of the two. Maybe both.
Well, maybe. I don't want to think about that. When I'm saying that these are like little old guys, they are really little old wrinkly guys. I don't want to think about that at all.
Those are the worst ones.
Those are the worst cults.
Yes.
But anyway, back to the horrific story. So yeah, the police were basically at a loss, and just on a whim, the contact gave us a call, and me and my team were in the area. So we went in to investigate, and this is one of my favourite things to do as a CCI agent, go in and investigate alongside the police, because I get to pretend to be someone else. That sounds sad. I don't mean it like that. I mean...
I didn't want to call you out, but yes.
I don't quite mean it like that. I mean as in I get to go in, and obviously we are a secret organisation. We can't let people know that we're all over the place. So I get to play with credentials. I get to go through the book and everything. And on this occasion, I got to pretend I was internal security services, which was fun.
Ooh. You don't get to do that every day.
Normally if you're in a different country or something, like if you're in America, FBI, God knows what, and that's always boring.
Yeah.
Spies, that's fun. So yeah. Anyway, getting off topic. Basically, we told them national security stuff. We need to investigate. We suspect it's connected to this. We need, can you get the police around, but we need you to clear the scene. So we went in and had a look around, and one of the things one of my team found was that, again, little strands of fabric in around the blood pools.
Red fabric, perchance.
Well, it definitely was red.
Well, yeah.
We found fabrics, which I know seems like a bit of a weird thing to go, but again, for us, most people wouldn't turn around and immediately go, mythical creature. But for us, that's our bread and butter. We go, mythical creature.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, often we're wrong, but...
Partially it was the fabric, partially it was apparently that one of the pike staffs was missing. We set up cameras all over the place, our own discreet cameras. Obviously there were cameras all over the place anyway, but we set up our own little discreet ones in different areas.
Yeah.
We went outside, got into our kind of van to just watch our cameras and make sure that everything, see if we could see anything, see if there's any kind of evidence, because we weren't 100% convinced it was something on our side, but it made sense to us.
Yeah.
And we got everyone out of the castle as well. And sure enough, as we're going along, and you see little bits of movement in the camera here and there. We didn't get a perfect view. There was just always a little bit off screen, foot being left behind, a small pike staff kind of coming out from the side of the screen, that kind of thing.
Okay. So it sounds like they're smart enough to avoid cameras pretty well.
Yeah, it seems to be that case. And obviously we're using proper high resolution kind of cameras.
Sure.
We couldn't quite find perfect evidence to say, yes, we definitely know what it is. So would you like to take a guess what I did?
go in as bait?
Yeah!
Ooh, surprise! One of these days that's gonna get you killed. Keep telling you.
I didn't just go in as bait alone.
Oh, that makes it better.
I sent 2 more of my team to go in as bait as well.
Well, did they volunteer for that?
Kind of. They did what we call voluntold.
Ah. I see.
No, my team is a bunch of idiots just like me. We're all relatively okay with going in, but we did arm ourselves.
I'm just imagining the Redcap finding you and you're doing the call an ambulance, but not for me. You pull out a gun on them.
Well, like I say, we did have gun spotters as well, but I really don't like walking around with those. So
Yeah.
me and my team, we tend to use tasers most of the time where possible, but we have the option if we need to. It's, again, we try and avoid that as much as we possibly
Of
can.
course.
Yeah, I just remember walking through the hall, sending my team off to one direction, sending one of them towards the
Great band.
kind of like the basement.
Not sure how it's relevant to the case, though.
Okay. I sent one of them to, I don't want to call it the basement, because is it really a basement in a castle? I mean, a historical site?
I mean, I guess.
I sent another one of my team to kind of start moving around the ground floor.
Yeah.
The other 2 members of the team were ready to respond. They were observing the cameras, but were ready to respond if one of us required assistance. And I started heading up to the second levels and start going through, keeping radio contact, all that kind of stuff, moving along.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually really, really, really surprised because what I actually found was another body
Oh,
as I was moving into one of the bedrooms.
I thought everyone was evacuated, basically.
So did I. We had made a point of telling everyone to get out. What happened was there were some local thrill seekers.
Oh, no.
So immediately I got on the radio to the rest of my team and say, be on the lookout for people. Please be very, very careful. Do not get yourself hurt, but we have civilians on site. We have people who don't know what they're dealing with, who are just here. They've heard rumors. They want to know what's going on. Be ready. Get them out. That's the first priority.
Yeah.
And so I was moving, had a look around, couldn't find too much evidence. It was very dark in there, and I was loath to get out a torch or anything like that. I was using our kind of night vision equipment that we have, rather than shining a light showing where I was.
Good idea.
And so as I was examining this room essentially for evidence of where it might have gone, I got the feeling, I mean, I'm no forensics expert or anything like that, but I got the feeling this was relatively recent.
Yeah.
So as I was examining the room, I remember I knelt down to look under the bed just to see if there's anything under there.
Yeah.
And as I knelt down, a rock came flying past my head. Not like a boulder kind of thing, a palm-sized one, but
Ooh.
some real force was thrown past it. It would have hit me probably kind of shoulder, neck kind of height if I hadn't been kneeling down, and it cracked against the wall. And immediately I stood up, got the taser out, started pointing around, couldn't find it, could not find the source of where this rocket came from.
Okay.
So I started leaving the room thinking I want to at least be somewhere a little bit more open, make it slightly easier for me to get away. And that's when one of my team radioed that they found another one of these thrill seekers, and that the person had reported being attacked by something he couldn't see, and he had quite a nasty kind of like slash down his side.
Yeah.
And that it happened roughly about the time that we entered into the property.
Oh.
So evidently we just saved someone's life by walking in.
Yeah, obviously. Good timing, I suppose.
Yeah, it could have been better. But,
Yeah, not for the other guy, yes, but...
So, yeah, I moved out of the bedroom, started moving up. There was a 3rd floor, so I started heading towards the stairs. As I looked down at the ground, I saw droplets of blood leading towards the stairway.
Okay.
So I thought,
So you followed it?
I'm really, really hoping that this isn't another victim.
Yeah.
That I've found whatever's going on up here. And so I start going up the next floor. And as I am going up the stairs, it's one of those ones with a banister that is kind of bare, but then it goes in between 2 walls. So you're just in a stairwell, but you could hop over the banister if you needed to. And oh my god, was I happy I could hop over the banister. Because from the top of the stairway, there came another couple of, like, a proper handful of rocks launched at really high speed. I just happened to see like a flash of something metal at the top of the stairs beforehand, and you taught to follow your instincts. I just jumped over the banister, and yeah, that would have definitely taken me in the face or in the chest.
You don't want rocks to the face usually. That's we don't recommend that in training.
They specifically tell you to avoid it.
Yes.
So at this point, I knew whatever's in here is very much top of the stairs.
Yeah.
It is. I radioed into the rest of the team, said, "Come on, I need some kind of system, some kind of backup." And that's when the third person in the house told me that they'd just come across another person and were evacuating all of them out.
Yeah.
So the rest of my team, the two others, were going to come to me as soon as we'd got the rest of the group out. So they told me, stay put, there'd be about 3 or 4 minutes.
Oh, that's a pretty long time in that situation.
Yeah, but obviously I had them trapped up on the next floor, so that should be okay.
Should.
Yeah, well, which is when they told us that there was another person in their group.
Oh no.
And that person had really wanted to go to the roof.
Of course, where else?
So at this point, I thought, well, I can't really wait.
Yeah.
So I told the rest of the team, get up here as soon as possible. If I go somewhere weird, I'll let you know. But just follow me, get them out. I'll follow me as soon as you possibly can. So I pursued up the stairs, got to the top of the stairs without having more rocks launched at my face.
Good start.
And that's when I could hear some like whimpering and someone basically cowering.
Yeah. In
one of the rooms. And I thought, okay, well, I think I know where the person is. I'm going to assume if someone's cowering or whimpering, it's not a good sign. It's going bad.
It usually isn't.
I very quickly ran through the hallway, basically ignoring every single thing we've been taught about. Don't just run past doorways or everything like that.
Of course.
I was really banking on the fact that Redcaps tend to be one-on-one rather than live in large groups.
Yeah.
And as I got to the door to the bedroom at the end, I saw a Redcap, essentially with his pike staff, taking jabs at this this fourth thrill seeker.
Ooh.
Quite literally trying to stab them. This guy appeared to be pretty nimble, pretty bendy. He was moving around, but also with Redcaps, unless you're like, I don't know, some kind of trained hand-to-hand fighter,
yeah,
you're not. They're very fast. They're very nimble. You're not gonna, get past the guard and start beating the hell out of them. They're smart like that. So yeah, as I ran through the room, I couldn't stop myself. I came around the corner and I just shouted, "Freeze!"
I'm sure that worked.
Oh, absolutely not. But I wanted to sound like a policeman.
Why?
Because it's fun sometimes. And to cut the tension, I've come across a murderous creature trying to kill a person in front of me. It's not normal for me.
Yeah. Usually you're the bait and the creatures are coming at you.
Exactly. I like to be the center of attention.
Yeah. That's fair, I guess. Okay, so attention on you. What happened?
Well, like I say, turns out Redcap's very fast.
Yeah.
It span round and quite literally launched this pike staff at me.
Okay.
Nearly got me. Gave me a really, really good cut just under my armpit.
Ooh.
Just there, as I kind of span sideways a little bit. I would like you to believe that it's because I've got reflexes of a cat and
of course
I was highly trained.
You were.
No, it was pure dumb luck. I span round to the side and shouted a few expletives while doing it. But at the same time, luckily, it was down my left side, and I'm right-handed, so I tend to, if I've got weapons, I fire with my right hand.
Yeah.
And I just happened to point the taser in the right direction, and ding, fired off, and hit the little sod right in the face with this taser.
I mean, that doesn't sound like careful aiming, but you ignored pretty much everything else in the handbook at this point, so...
Hey, it worked. Got him right on the forehead. Right on the forehead.
Wonderful.
Zapped the little guy down. He dropped like a sack of spuds. hit the ground, and just started kind of flopping around absolutely everywhere. Luckily, I managed to take him down, beckoned the random guy out the room, sent him down to the rest of my team. I was, at this point, binding this Redcap.
Yeah.
You know, got rope, got some metal handcuffs and things like that. Yes, they are smaller handcuffs. We brought the child size.
So did you have the feeling that the Redcap liked that?
Honestly, didn't really go through my mind at the time. When you deal with Redcaps, feel free to investigate.
I will.
Bundled him into the back of our van and back off to CCI headquarters for them to decide what they're going to do with him.
So what do they usually do with them? It sounds like it's not the kind of creature you just want to let loose.
When we catch them, it's one of the few creatures when we don't run tests and things like that on them, but we do observe them. And we actually, at the CCI, have like a fake habitat for them, in a way.
Okay.
They don't really know the difference, or at least so far we believe they don't really know the difference. We essentially, like, imprison them.
Okay.
Like you would a human being, in a sense.
And then you put in fake humans as enrichment? Like a hitman training level?
Not quite like that, but more a case of we give them somewhere to live and we observe them. More just to find out what they do.
Okay.
We have an island.
What?
Somewhere, I don't really know where it is, but we're just somewhere in the sea.
Don't tell me you have an island completely inhabited by redcaps.
Yes.
Oh. Have you heard the fable of the Jurassic Park? I am sure this can end only absolutely well.
Well, we don't use them as, like, entertainment.
I mean, not yet.
Hey, new revenue source.
See, that's how it starts. Next we have Jeff Goldblum knocking at our door.
I know it's a bit of a weird one, but what else can we do?
I don't know.
We don't want to execute things just randomly because they're nasty, because they're following their nature. If we put them back into just the wild in general, release them back into the UK along the borders or something like that, they're just going to do it again.
Yeah.
At least this way, they get to live out how they want to, and we just basically send out like dolls that are full of like little fake blood.
Jeez. Okay. Then
and let them
suddenly they don't
let them kill things.
Suddenly they don't sound that smart anymore. More like pets in a way.
No. Well, this is what the research kind of shows us.
Yeah.
They just want the blood.
Okay.
Don't know why, they just want the blood.
Okay, I've two questions. The first one is, how do you keep people from going to this island? Because I imagine...
Well, obviously, first it's off any maps.
That makes it only more alluring. Imagine you find an island that's not on any maps. You're going to explore that.
Well, the island is off maps. What isn't is the fact that apparently this little island on any kind of maps or on anything, very, very kind of like hazardous terrain for boats. So like rocks and shoals and everything.
Here be dragons.
Very dangerous in a way, but essentially not even like here be dragons, because we don't want it to look alluring in the slightest.
Yeah.
This is basically just a very, very dangerous area. We've investigated it. There's nothing there. There's nothing there's no hidden treasure or anything like that. It's basically just rocks and it's going to rip apart your boat.
Okay.
And secondly, we have constant patrols of wardens. It's probably one of the least desirable of the roles.
I imagine that.
Unless you really, really like redcaps. We essentially have like little research vessels nearby watching on videos. We're observing them, seeing what they do, see how they do things. Yeah. Just so we can find ways to kind of maybe communicate with them, maybe just understand what they're doing. Maybe try and prevent them from being a nuisance. Yeah. But we also just have like wardens on boats kind of patrolling in the area. Just turn away anyone who might want to go that way. Yeah. If that makes sense.
It does. And it also answers my second question, because I was wondering if we keep tabs on them and try to learn from this Jurassic Redcap island.
Well, again, we don't want it to
Isla
be a case
Muerte, or whatever it's called.
Well, again, we don't want it to be a case of we put a bunch of redcaps on the island together and they suddenly make a society and start trying to leave the island and come after us. Yeah. But also, it's not like there's 1,000 redcaps on this island. We're talking a very, very small number of redcaps.
Okay.
And they do have lifespans. We don't know quite how long they are, because we don't know how old a lot of the ones that we have, but they do die of natural causes over time.
Well, that's calming, I suppose. Maybe we should put little tags around their legs like you do with birds, so we can keep track of how long they live and stuff. Migration patterns.
Did they fly south for the winter?
Yes.
Well, the other thing is that they're hard to catch. It's very rare that we actually catch them. Normally, when we evict them from places, they tend to escape back into the area and disappear. But this was also in the middle of... it may or may not have been in the middle of a built-up area, this historical site, so we couldn't really let them escape.
Of course it wasn't. How? No, that sounds incredibly unlikely.
Yeah, so that's my experience with Redcaps recently. Since Christmas, I have basically went into a murder mystery to a certain degree.
Sounds like an
It wasn't
entire
really much
ordeal.
of a mystery. Yeah, it wasn't really much of a mystery. We kind of knew there was a killer. It wasn't going, was it you? Was it you? No, it was definitely you.
Yeah, it's like those shows that show the murder at the beginning and then spend an hour just trying to find proof and convict the dude.
But do you know where other people could go and find proof and convict someone?
Well, if you ever wanted to convict anonymous people, I'm sure our Discord is a great place to do that. There's no separation of the branches of law there. You can go full Judge Dredd on your fellow Discordians. You can talk about episodes we've done. You can arrest people, execute them. You can request creatures for us to talk about, because between Jack and I, we have encountered a lot of things, so chances are we can tell you a bit about them. And yeah, in general, it's just a great place to be. We're trying to build our little community with like-minded people where you can talk about things and the world that you didn't really know existed in that way before. And while you're doing all that, you're probably feeling pretty fulfilled already, but there's one more thing you can do, or a couple of things really, on a different platform. What could that be?
Well, on any platform in which you're listening to this, or any platform in which you could listen to this, your podcasting app of choice, or even on YouTube, you can give us thumbs up, 5 stars, rate us, whatever.
Yes.
Always, always, always rate us highly, because you love this podcast. You
do.
know you love it. Why are you fighting it? Why are you fighting the fact that you love this and this is your favourite podcast you've ever listened to? Okay, that was creepy.
Love.
Again, this is not your dating app.
Says you.
Yeah, so if you enjoy this, give us a follow, give us rates, give us likes. Depends on what your podcast app of choice does. But either way, yeah, just give us things that the algorithm gods love.
Exactly.
And make it more popular so that there's more people who want to join the Discord and you've got a bigger community. Don't you always want a bigger community?
Always. Bigger is always better.
Always.
We know this.
All right. But yeah, so in the meantime, unless there's anything else to say, I think that's about time to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.